We are moving right along. So we are on slide 13. And you can see we have this sort of a pretty picture. It's not pretty really, but anyway, we think of it as pretty. It's got some color to it anyway. And it's mostly sort of purpley. And when we look at what is the epidermis, I want you to look at that lowermost arrow. So you have 5 arrows from top to bottom. That lowermost arrow is labeled stratum basale. Now, a minute ago, when we were looking at the melanocyte, I had said, look to the left, look to the right, and you see keratinocytes. So you had that melanocyte, and you had these keratinocyte stem cells. And if you want to know where were we in that epidermis, here, we were at the stratum basale. That's the bottom, at the very bottom of the epidermis. Yeah, that's where we were. And so then as you start crawling up towards the top, you see that we have another layer, stratum spinosum, and then a really dark colored layer, which is called stratum granulosum. And then we have this sort of a ethereal light colored layer called the stratum lucidum. And then at the very top is kind of a messy looking layer called stratum corneum. So let's start at the bottom and work our way up. Okay, stratum basale, that's that very bottom layer, that bottom arrow. So it's the deepest layer of the epidermis. And it's where we're going to find three of those 4 kinds of cells that we talked about. We said we're going to have keratinocytes. These are the stem cells that make more keratinocytes. Then we have those melanocytes that are there for color, for skin color. And then we have that Merkel disc. It's right there communicating with the nerve. But we're not going to have the Langerhans down this low. So we're right down low there. And it ends up that virtually all of the cell division that is going to happen in the epidermis is going to happen in stratum basale. Why? Let's put on our thinking caps or sit in our thinking chair. Why? Why is that? Why don't we see cell division up higher in those higher layers? What did we say? When you were looking at that picture, how many blood vessels did you see in that epidermis? And if you wanted to, you could go back to the previous slide and look. And you can look at the diagram here on this slide that's labeled stratum basale. And you'd say, well, I can't say that I see any of them. It's not a surprise. There are none. There's no blood supply directly to the epidermis. So you have to have blood to survive. So the blood supply for the epidermis is in the top of the next layer down, the one we call the dermis. So all of the cell division, all of the cells that are happy and, fat, doing their thing, the ones that are the most comfortable and that are living the good life are the ones that are in stratum basale, because they've got the food supply, the blood, right below them. So there's no problems. The life living is good there. So we'd said, what's going to happen here? You're going to be coloring those layers above you, and you're going to be producing more and more cells that get pushed to the surface. And you know what happens? The further they get from the blood supply, the harder life becomes. So the next layer is called stratum spinosum. And you know why they call it stratum spinosum? The cells are spiny, you know, duh. But do you know why they have that spiny shape? Ha ha ha. Now that's the real question. The real question is, why do they have that spiny shape? And the answer is because they're stressed. They're under stress. They're getting further and further away from the dermal blood supply. So you have stratum basale is just one cell layer thick, and then up above it you have 8 to 10 cells thick stratum spinosum. They're still alive. It's just its living isn't quite as good as down below. So they start to be stressed, and this is the layer though where that Langerhans dude, Langerhans cell, he's there patrolling. So he's kind of working along above stratum basale. The Langerhans cell is kind of working along above stratum basale in and amongst stratum spinosum. Yeah. So there is a little bit of cell division that can happen here because we still are reasonably close to the capillaries that are just below stratum basale. Now, you get another 3 to 5 layers away, and what happens? You don't have a flow of materials. We don't have this flow of materials, diffusion of materials into the cells. At this point, they're too far. It's sad, I know. No, it's just the way it works. They're too far away from the dermal blood supply to survive, and so they start. And so they were too far away from the dermal blood supply, so they start to die. And they end up with these granules of keratohyalin. That's a mouthful. So look at your slide. I'm on slide 16. It says contains granules of keratohyalin, and that's what makes it that dark color. They're dying. It's a metabolic product that when they stain the skin, they say, wow, look at this layer, it's purple. It's because of this. And you know what? The cells are dying and their nuclei are degenerating. Now, so what's been going on? What's been going on in this keratinocyte is you've had protein translation. You remember transcription, translation? You've been making a special kind of protein, and that, what is it? Keratin. So as these cells die, the nucleus is gone, but they're full of this waterproofing protein. So the next layer up, it really depends on whether you're talking about skin here or skin here or on the bottom of your foot. On skin here and on the bottom of your foot, you have this alternate layer. Palms of your hands, soles of your feet, you have stratum lucidum. And that's that one that's found that in thick skin, and it has this translucent look because it has something called oleodin in it. So I've moved to slide 17, and you can see droplets of oleodin. And this layer of skin, this one that's on my computer right now, number 17, slide 17, stratum lucidum, what you see is it contains droplets of oleodin, and this layer is only found in thick skin. And where is thick skin found? Palms of your hands, soles of your feet. Now, above it, if you look above, you'll see that we have this final layer, which is called stratum corneum. And stratum corneum is that messy looking layer that's on the surface of your skin. And so this is the one, I'm touching it right now, stratum corneum. It's when you touch the outside of your skin, this is what you are touching. And it's 25 to 30 cells thick of dead skin. And you know what's crazy is you're constantly losing it. And you might have, like at some point, taken your, something a little bit sharp, not very sharp, but just a little bit sharp, and you can scratch a little line in your skin, and you say, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt me at all. Why? It's dead skin. Of course it doesn't hurt you. And so why do you have this dead skin there? So if you think of a barrier, to go back to our functions of skin, if you think of this barrier for your skin, and you say, okay, so we have this barrier and something's trying to get through there, and we said these things are locked together, these dead cells are all locked together, and they're having to crawl through there. There is nothing alive here because we're in stratum corneum, the outer layer. And so it's hard for a pathogen to get to anything of value to the pathogen to get inside of you. And then we had said it's also colored to protect you from ultraviolet radiation. It has these antimicrobial chemicals, the sort of acid secretions, the oils. But there is one animal that loves this stuff. So this dead skin, I had a girlfriend that was always sniffly. Not my wife, but somebody else. And she was constantly sniffly, blowing her nose and stuff. Why? She was allergic to dust mites. And dust mites love this stuff. They eat it. And so they're on your skin. They're like a little animal. It's a mite that feeds on dead skin, and you are constantly losing dead skin. And so my girlfriend, she had to have everything, like her bedding was all in like plastic bags because, her pillow and her mattress, because it's to try and keep those things, they build up. Just think of it. How many of them are living in your pillow and your mattress if day after day you're shedding all this skin? And so there are a lot of them that live there actually. So stratum corneum is food for dust mites. Okay. All right. Stop here.